Hi, this is Pete Anderson, and you're listening to Icon Fetch.
Welcome to the show. Kim Wilson is the founding member and vocalist for the Fabulous Thunderbirds, who, after over a decade together, enjoyed a big hit on MTV in 1986 with Tuff Enuff. Now, Wilson's latest project takes him back to where it all started. Blues and Boogie Volume One is a collection of raw blues done the old-fashioned way.
You asked me for $100, and I didn't have but 99.
The 16 tracks give Wilson a chance to honor some of his idols like James Cotton, Little Walter, and Sonny Boy Williamson, while also throwing in some of his originals which fit perfectly with the mood. And to talk about it, we welcome to the show Kim Wilson. Kim, how are you, man?
I hear you.
All right. Well, tell me this. You know, I get this record in the mail, right? And the first thing that catches my eye, I mean, I'm an old school dude, and I look and I see mono right on the front. And I'm like, all right, now we're talking.
Yeah. Well, to me, mono is the only way to record this kind of music. And mono analog. Guess what that means? It's all live. I mean, there's no overdubs. I mean, there are a couple overdubs, actually. The horns were overdubbed, and a cowbell. But everything else is live in the studio, and if you don't get it, you don't get it. You move on to the next one. There were some, level things you could do, but everybody's in the same room, really.
Right. So
you can't turn one guy up without turning someone else up. So
right.
Basically, it's just right there. It's just like they used to do it.
Right. I mean, this is, if you're going to pay tribute to this music, you ought to record it the way it was done, right?
That's what I say. I mean, I really love the sound of analog tape. I've recorded a lot on Pro Tools, and every time I hear a record back, no matter how many mics they use, old mics or good preamps or any of that stuff, it still just sounds digital to me.
Yeah.
And you can hear the difference. Now, a lot of younger people maybe can't hear the difference, but I definitely can. And you can saturate tape, make it give you that little friendly distortion that the old records used to get. I mean, if you listen to stuff like "Just Want to Make Love to You" by Muddy Waters,
I just want to make.
And that was done at Universal, I believe. And that stands up now,
right?
The quality of that recording.
Right.
So you can get all kinds of different, when the Chess Brothers started recording in their furniture store, it sounded way different than that. But,
right.
You take it all as it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think there's something about, sometimes all this technology at your fingertips, like you say, you can dial in like all these millions of snare sounds and all this. And man, the blues guys weren't doing any of that. They just show up and play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it was up to the engineers, up to the guys. You really have to know your room. You have to know what every sound is going to come out of. In your room, you have to know the corners. It's kind of an art. It's definitely an art to know the sounds that are going to come out of your room.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so speaking of the room, I mean, how do you when you go about? Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, you've lived and breathed this music your whole life. So where did the idea behind doing a project like this? Is this something that you've had on the back burner for a long time, or
Well, I had a record come out. Well, my first Antones records really kind of got me going with this. I mean, they were pretty successful records. They were done to analog tape. They were done in stereo, and I kept trying to figure out why they didn't sound right. And I started panning things closer together, and I realized that I'm just going to go mono, And so I had another record later on, did a lot of tracks for it, called My Blues, and that was direct to mono, like literally 2-track. So we had some success with getting sounds there. Then we went to Nathan's house, and Nathan called me up and said, "Well, come on over here." It was very cheap. And I said, okay. When I told myself, well, if I don't like it, I just won't go back. Well, I ended up cutting 25 tracks that day.
Wow, 20. Geez.
I was literally cutting 15 to 30 tracks a day.
Wow.
And so it's just what I like to do. I'm very comfortable with it. I'm very comfortable playing this kind of music. I've been playing it a long time, and all I want to do is create a legacy for myself. And I want records to stand up to the old records that I loved.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine it's like we were saying, it's got to be harder because there's all these tools at your disposal, but you probably have to simplify things. I mean, when you're talking about this guy Nathan, you go over to his place kind of thing. I mean, did he have some old gear that you were using kind of thing?
I brought a lot of the gear that the musicians were playing through. He had some. He had an old TIAC. His machine was 8-track, and so actually the first machine we worked on was dead mono.
Nice.
And that was kind of crazy because you couldn't even rewind the tape; it would scrape the surface off the tape.
God.
If you rewound it. And then he went to this 8-track TIAC, and then we just started going. A lot of stuff without a bass in the beginning, like you can hear that Jimmy Reed song. It's kind of like Little Walter does Jimmy Reed, and on that "You Mess Up My Mind."
You know I love you, honey. Girl, you upset my mind.
That has no bass. The Sonny Boy Williamson one has no bass, and so that's what we were doing at first. And of course, then we got that was Marty, myself, Marty Dodson on drums, Big John Atkinson on guitar, and Nathan James on the other guitar. And that's all we were just recording those 4 guys, me and those 3 guys. And then we brought Richard in, of course, God rest him. Then we brought Barrel House Chuck in, God rest him too. And brought Larry Taylor in, Billy Flynn. And that's when things started popping pretty good. We were getting used to the process. We did there's Studio A and Studio B over at Nathan's. Studio A is the garage. Studio B is the living room.
Nice.
So we were, it was really cool. A lot of cool wood floors. The gear we were using is very old. A lot of small old Fenders, small old Gibsons. I'm still making purchases, buying amps that I can use in the studio for those situations. But then we just started flying, Then I started recording a little bit over at Big John's down in San Diego. He's up in Hayward now. And we've recorded literally hundreds of tracks.
Wow.
So we got a lot in the can. We got enough for five records right now.
Yikes. So, I mean, how do you whittle it? You got hundreds of songs. How do you whittle it down to what you put on Volume 1 here?
Well, Barrel House and Richard had a lot to do with it. I mean, I still have quite a bit of stuff with them on it in the can, but I wanted to get them represented, because both of their dreams were to see this stuff come out, and they never lived to see it come out, which makes me very, very sad. And, you're talking about 2 of the best musicians maybe ever. So, I wanted to make sure that they were represented. But there are a lot of other people on there, too. Of course, Marty Dodson, who's a fantastic drummer, and Bob Welch playing a little bit of piano and some guitar on this. You got Malachi Johnson on drums. This kid's only 20 years old. And,
nice.
So, how you pick it out is really kind of by the personnel, of course, by the song, too. There's so many. It was very, very difficult to whittle it down. Of course, I've been listening to this stuff for probably 3 years now. So it seems like yesterday when we started it. But, it's been quite a lengthy process of just spitting it out and then listening back and seeing what you got.
Yeah, and I mean, if we talk about, the record opens with Bonus Boogie. Now, this is one that sounds like a classic blues tune, but this is one that you wrote. Now, while you're doing that, were you thinking of anybody in particular while you're actually, playing the harmonica there?
No.
Okay.
Now, I mean, of course, Little Walter is my main mentor, but, there's Little Walter, there's James Cotton, there's Sonny Boy Williamson. You just go in and let it fly. I didn't even know I had that track until I listened back.
Really?
And then I went, wow, that's pretty good. I'm going to have to put that out.
Those are the happy accidents. Those are nice. And that's good.
Yeah, the whole thing is a happy accident. There's no, if you're thinking when you do this stuff, you're not doing it. There's no thinking involved except which track to do.
Right.
And then you just let it fly, and it's all improvised. Everything is improvised on this record.
Nice. Now, it's kind of crazy to kind of go, as I look at some of the songs here, the beautiful thing of the internet is you can pull some things up and kind of compare how things sound. And, man, I tell you what, man, some of these you just nail the sound of, like No Love in My Heart. I found a version from Elmore James. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, no love in my heart for you. Oh, no love in my heart for you.
That was a suggestion from Richard. The two Elmore James ones with the horns, those were Richard's suggestions, and they worked out well. I was in good voice that day. You're in the studio, you're singing 8, 10, 12 hours a day. So you have to go with what you've got at the time. And that, for some reason, those two just came out beautifully. But, Richard and Barrelhouse are fantastic on both those tracks. And of course, Nathan plays the solo on No Love in My Heart. Big John plays the solo on Sure Enough I Do. Those are the two Elmore ones.
Nice. Now, I mean, if you look at all these tracks here, could you pinpoint one that maybe has been around for you personally the longest? Maybe one you remember hearing as a kid or anything like that?
Well, probably 99.
I was so sorry when she asked me for $100, and I didn't have a 99.
99 sticks out as one that I've known since I was real young.
And that's Sonny Boy Williamson, right?
Yeah, and that I've known that since I was in my teens. So it's nice not to have to read it off a piece of paper.
All right. You know that one by heart. We're good on that one, right? So, I mean, and I have to tell you, Worried Life Blues, I'm telling you what, and I think you recorded that one at a different studio, but the drums on that are just so, lo-fi and authentic to what was coming out in maybe the mid-'50s kind of thing. You just nail it.
So bad.
Yeah. My boy tells me that too. He said that one sounds more like that period than any of it.
Right.
And it just comes out like it comes out. It's not something we were concentrating on. And that was done up in at Big John's place in Hayward, along with Mino Frisco.
Lord, I wonder. My baby thing to me.
It's all a big adventure. That's all I can tell you.
Right. Now, some of these, it's interesting as you sort of listen to the tracks go by, you think, well, that must be a classic blues song. But for instance, Searched All Over is another one of yours, but man, that could pass for an old Elmore James tune or something,
Well, I searched all over, but my baby can't be found. Yes, I searched all over, but my baby can't be found.
I didn't want people to know the difference. I wanted people to think that it was an old song, a classic song. And I think I've succeeded in writing, I'm going to write quite a few more now. I mean, I think I've just about gotten this cover thing out of my system. But the beautiful thing about covers are, though, that you can throw your own whammy on them.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I don't think that, like I say, the Jimmy Reed one, that's got an amplified harmonica on it, and the Teenage Beat, that's just coming out of me. There's nothing copied, anything. Then you got 99, which is Sonny Boy's style of harmonica, no question about it. But it's not like on the record, no way.
Right.
I go back and listen to the originals, and I go, well, I've accomplished that. I mean, there's no, they don't sound the same at all.
Right.
And I think when you get to be my age, you develop your own style. You're comfortable, at least more comfortable in your own body. And you can go out there and just let it fly like you.
Right.
I mean, obviously, your influences are going to be there. There's no question about that. But you just spit it out, man. I mean, what are they going to do? Fire you?
Right. Now, I mean, I'm telling you, the one that really stands out to me, though, is Blue and Lonesome. I mean, that is just got a spine-chilling... Who played guitar on that? Because the guitar is just, oh, man, awesome.
That's Big John.
That's Big John, okay. Oh,
yeah.
That's good stuff.
Big John's an incredible young musician. I mean, he's really the future of this music. I mean, Nathan's he's kind of a kid, too, but Big John is only in his late 20s, and he's... when you talk about accompaniment, it's pretty incredible that everything is right. It's hard to find anybody who can do that. When you say, oh, you're honoring this music, yeah, you're honoring the music. Because the thing about the music is there's nothing old about this music. There's nothing basic about this music. It's a timeless music. It's going to be modern because it's happening right now. I think that, and not to mention that vinyl is coming back. Vinyl would be coming out on this record on December 15th.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to go real analog here from start to finish, right? Nice.
Absolutely.
So, if we go back to, the roots of the Fabulous Thunderbirds, did you guys start out as a blues band? I mean, what was the origin there?
Yeah, it was straight blues. I mean, if you go back to our first recording, I don't think there's even one rock and roll beat on it. I'm not saying that was the greatest band in the world. It wasn't. But the thing was that we had, especially me, but what we had was a thing. And it was obviously not learned from a book. And I think we were probably the only guys out there doing that at that time that had that kind of attitude. And I think that's why we became kind of successful for, when Tuff Enuff finally came out, we had performed for so many people and opening up for people like Muddy Waters and B.B. King and, playing our own shows, of course, in clubs all over the country, all over the world. And people were just ready for something by us. And then we were smart. We picked up the right guy, Dave Edmonds, to record that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was... it was a new experience for us. The Tuff Enuff record.
I mean, I imagine that's got to be crazy. I mean, if you look, July 86, you guys are number 10 on the Billboard charts, and you're rubbing shoulders with Janet Jackson and Kenny Loggins. I mean, that's got to be just surreal. A little band from Texas like you guys,
Watching it climb the charts was pretty incredible. I mean, we got a great label. We took that record out. The original company that recorded that record went bankrupt. So we had a finished tape that we were taking all over the country and shopping to many, many labels. And finally, we take it back in for the second or third time to CBS, and Tony Martell is in there, that wonderful man, and he brought us all in the office. He said, I think I can sell this. Okay. Then he said, I'm going to start my own label inside the CBS family to put this thing out on.
Wow.
So we had access to everybody at Epic, CBS, Columbia. We had all those. This is before Sony. And so we had access to all those great people and all those promotional people. That was back when the record labels really had record people. And they were really responsible for getting that record out.
Wrap it up, I'll take it. Wrap it up, I'll take it.
It was a whole different ballgame.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you know, thanks to YouTube, you can pull up videos, and of course, the video for Tuff Enuff. You know, you got scantily clad women walking around in hard hats. Man, nothing. I mean, how much creative input did you have? You know, I hear from a lot of bands that are like, you know, they show up and you've got some guy that's got this idea and you just kind of run with it, kind of thing.
That's exactly right.
Right.
we had no creative input on those videos. Zero.
Oh,
I like the second one. I like the Wrap It Up video.
Right.
Because that was shot at Liberace's, one of Liberace's old homes.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks
that
like
was shot in L.A.
Yeah.
The Tuff Enuff video was shot up in Toronto, and Rick Garcia, he was like the executive producer of that.
Okay.
And we had a guy, he was like a dance instructor up there. And he had all the girls, and that's also an incredible experience, you know. I mean,
Sure.
You know, pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, the thing that's great about the T-Birds is that you guys are still putting out great records. And, I mean, for anybody that's, you know, you keep track of the last couple of records you guys have done, I think, are some of the best of your career, but they're different. They've got this kind of soulful quality that maybe wasn't on some of the earlier records.
But diamonds won't kiss you back, baby, when you need it. Oh, whisper in your ear.
I mean, what kind of brought about that kind of change in direction?
I had David Earl down there at Severn, and he wanted to create a soul singer out of me.
All right.
And I said, well, good luck with that. But I mean, you know, now this new one that we're doing, it's almost done.
Nice.
Is it's a little harder edged. It's a more bluesy kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know how to put it. I'm really a blues singer.
Right.
So if I'm singing soul songs, I'm singing them like a blues singer.
Right.
Kind of like Albert King, or hopefully what a guy like Little Milton would do, or, you know, I mean, the whole T-Bird thing really started for me with the very first James Cotton record on Verve. James Cotton, that became the Bible to me. You know, James was doing Turn On Your Love Light and Knock on Wood, and he was doing Don't Start Me Talking by Sonny Boy Williamson and Off the Wall by Little Walter on the same record. And I went, well, if it's good enough for him, it's certainly good enough for me. And,
All right.
And back in the day, you know, I'm talking about late 60s, early 70s, if you didn't get up there and make the people dance, then you were done.
Yeah.
I mean, and so if you're going to lay some heavy blues on somebody, back then you had to play something danceable, some kind of soul-y, kind of funky beat.
Right. Yep.
That's really all it took, a funky beat. And people like, you know, I mean, Junior Wells was doing it back then too. But I got it from James Cotton. And that record, that became the Bible for the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Nice. You know, and I mean, you mentioned Severn Records. I mean, those guys have put out a lot of really good, like whenever I get a record in the mail and I see their name on it, I'm like, okay, This is good. They just continue to kind of put out quality stuff, and it sounds to me like they're kind of letting you have the freedom to kind of do what you want too. So,
yeah, well, he's got his idea of what he wants to do, and we discuss it before each project. But he's a real music guy, and he cares, and that's probably the only guy ever that was like that. I mean, sure, Antone, he didn't have too much control. Those first couple records, those kind of slid under the radar as far as, A&R people and stuff like that.
Right.
But David Earl is a very musical guy, and he really cares about his artists. And consequently, I'm sure, of course, now we've got Sonny involved in it as well.
Nice.
Which is also very good, because they'll get their promotional people in on it, and they'll pump it out there pretty good. It's a really good avenue for all of David Earl's stuff. My manager got that deal for him.
Nice. Well,
with Sonny. There's some great artists out there. I mean, we just lost a great one this last weekend with Tom Petty.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We did some touring with him, and that guy was, you talk about a songsmith. I mean, that guy could really write a song.
Yeah.
And he had a very, very distinctive style. And, I feel so bad for his family, because he's the same age as me.
Yeah, and it's just young. It's just too young, man. I always thought of Petty as being one of these guys that's, 80, 85 years old and just continuing to be an ambassador for rock and roll, But, yeah.
Yeah. And, that's just, I guess he was still smoking.
Yeah.
That'll do it to you every time.
Yeah.
But God rest him.
Yep.
He was a good guy. We did some touring with him a little bit, and they were all very, very gracious people, the guys in the band and Tom. And I've always appreciated that, the graciousness of most of the people that we've worked with in the industry. God rest him.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, so you mentioned the T-Birds got a new record on the horizon, right? You're saying so.
Yes, we do.
What kind of time frame you think? Next year or by the end of the
next year?
Okay,
it'll be next year.
Okay, all right.
Probably next spring, I would imagine. We're not quite done with it yet, but I tell you what, we went in there. We thought we were going in for pre-production. We almost finished the thing.
Wow, nice. Hey, that's always good too, right?
Yeah.
So. Cool.
And then we'll see what happens. If people really want to hear this stuff, then I'll take that band out. And, I'll just mix it up a little bit. That's all.
Right. But it is out, and now other people can enjoy it for sure. And it's just Volume 1. So you're saying there could be more kind of thing as well, right?
There's going to be a volume every year for the rest of my life, probably.
Right. All right. Well, hopefully there's 100 volumes, right? That's where it's... So at least 50, right? How's that? So that's good. So cool.
I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been great talking to you. The new CD from Kim Wilson is called Blues and Boogie Volume 1, and we wish you luck on it, man.
Thank you very much. Great talking to you.
You've been listening to Icon Fetch with Tony Peters. Want more great interviews? Head over to iconfetch.com. There, you'll find every interview we've ever done, plus CD reviews, This Day in Music, and a random album of the day. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Who is Tony going to interview next? It could be you. Send what you've got to Tony Peters. Icon Fetch, P.O. Box 292134, Dayton, Ohio, 45429. Or email Tony at host@iconfetch.com. Until next time, this is Joe Kelly. Have a great day.